Hey, what up, everyone? I'm Sinnycool, and this is Gems of War. And today I have three teams for you for the World event: the Fallen Ones, a high-level team, a mid-level team, and a low-level team. This is pretty easy for most people because the one of the easiest troops to get in the game is really awesome for this. It's a underworld legendary that you should probably have by level like 300 or something. So, yeah, the restriction is Wild Folk. Wild Folk is a great restriction for a world event because you have access to something like the Scourge of Honor. Does the most AoE damage in the entire game. You can't name anything else that does more AoE damage to every single enemy than the Scourge of Honor. The Scourge of Honor is a Cinemirage Mythic, so hopefully you have it. It's like a top 20, top 25 type of Mythic. It's around like, Phoenicia, Scourge of Honor, Phoenix. It's like one of those where it's not a top 10, but it's, top 20. I had Reflection of Good, Scourge of Honor, King Salinas. So you're going to want to use King Salinas if you have it. It's a 50% start for Wild Folk, and since the restriction is Wild Folk, every single thing that you can even choose is a Wild Folk, so you might as well throw King Salinas on your team, so your whole team always gets started with 50% mana. It's just like a guarantee. It's always the best way to go, is if you have a 50% start, because it doesn't rely on like an explosion or a empowered conversion or something like that. It just is a guaranteed 11 mana for Scourge of Honor every single battle at the start of battle. So I chose Reflection of Good because it's not brown. It doesn't block Scourge of Honor at all. I can just cast it on the Scourge of Honor and get it up. And you just cast the Scourge of Honor. Hits all enemies with AoE damage really hard. And if you happen to need a second one, you got a second one. So yeah, I went with Bard class there to make myself Wild Folk. Take advantage of that 50% start, which we would have anyway with Bard class. But that's the high level team. Double Scourge of Honor. Some explodey weapon, doesn't have to be Reflection of Good, with King Salinas. Here's the mid-range team. Most people that are going to do this event should have access to Queen Beatrix. So Queen Beatrix AoE damage, once again, true damage. True damage. Scourge of Honor and Queen Beatrix both use true damage to all enemies. So definitely the best option. Skips right past their armor. That's what true damage means. Only hits their HP. In this game, all you have to do is deplete their HP to kill them. You do not have to deplete their armor. So anytime you can do true damage to all enemies, it's a better option than physical. And it'll tell you in the spell if it's true damage or not. Queen Beatrix also has looping potential. She has a 40% chance for an extra turn. She makes a bunch of green and brown on the board. So she has two different ways to potentially get an extra turn. Probably two separate 40% chances or so. Two different checks at it. That makes a bunch of green and brown. That could make an extra turn because it could be a bunch of green and she would get right back up. Or that 40% chance, that's just a flat chance every time she casts. She could get an extra turn. You can get her in the Underworld, in the Deep Hive. So that's always way easier because she's the only legendary that you could even get if you were throwing Chaos Shards at portals in the Deep Hive. It's not like there's a huge range of legendaries that it could be randomly give you. So you would definitely get the Queen Beatrix if you're going to get a legendary from that drop table. So it's super easy to get. Just do your City of Thieves every day, 3 times a day on level 20, and you would get it eventually. It's like the third. I usually tell people to get the Mirage Queen, then King Gobtruffle, then Queen Beatrix. She also has that awesome Royal Honey third trait. She's just an amazing troop. You should definitely have it in your arsenal from like level 300 on at worst. Went with Mountain Crusher on that one because she doesn't use brown. It's a really low. It's an option with low mana cost. You can start 50%. You only got to match a brown. It gets up, bang, you cast it, gets up the Queen Beatrix, and then you go to town. King Salinas once again for the 50% start on that team. Here is the low-level team. So I think I showed you every single good option. I'm pretty sure, except for maybe a weapon, because you have access to all the weapons, so there's more weapons that could hit all enemies if you want to use them. But I think I showed you every single good troop option for this restriction, this Wild Folk restriction. And here's the last two. We got Glaive of Many Goats, which is available in the Soulforge right now. And it's a pretty good weapon. But there's good wild folk in the game. It boosts off wild folk. You should probably go get it. If you don't have it, it's okay though. You can use Mountain Crusher, Reflection of Good, Essence of Evil. There's another explodey weapon based on wild folk, I'm pretty sure. Just use one of those. Don't not do the event just because you don't have Glaive of Many Goats, even though it's available in the soulforge. Like, you can use this team without the weapon. It's fine. We have Blade Dancer, Hex Rat, Trickster with the Glaive of Many Goats. Glaive of Many Goats makes, I think, green and yellow based off wild folk allies. The Blade Dancer does scatter damage to all enemies. It's always a good option in these events. The Hex Rat, if you cast it on first slot, does damage to all enemies. Really heavy damage. It's an easy to get troop. And Trickster is a 75% start explodey. It's kind of like Leprechaun, except for a 75% start instead of empowered. But yeah, just cast those 2 metal troops and you will win. Like, share, subscribe. Consider joining. It helps a lot. Get about the channel, comment below. Weekly preview in a couple hours. Faction video tomorrow at reset. Live stream Wednesday, 11:30 a.m. EST.